So, would you ever consider using a 17-year-old mini DV camera in 2024? I know those of you who have started following this channel most likely would, but if you're new to this channel, would you ever consider using a 17-year-old camcorder? Well, let's check out this weird one from JVC and see if it's worth adding to your camera collection. Hey there, welcome back to my camera collection. If you're new around here, we like to check out retro camcorders from the 80s, 90s, and early to mid 2000s. So if you're into retro camcorders or even just weird old camcorders in a whole, you're in the right place. So you better damn well subscribe. So before we get started, I just want to say we will be having some links in the description. Some links to get this exact camcorder going for yourself if you have one. So it'll have links for batteries, chargers, tapes, and video converters or video recorders, if you will. So if you need any of that kind of stuff, check the description. And I'll have a playlist in the description as well, so that if you don't really know how to capture footage from a tape, I have a whole playlist on different ways that you can do that. I've had a lot of people leaving comments asking how I actually capture footage. So if you're one of those people, check the description and I'll have a playlist linked down below and you can kind of just go through and see which ones are the best option for you. But today we are checking out the JVC GR-DA30. Now this little tiny camcorder is actually from 2007, so kind of towards the end of the era of mini DV camcorders. And we'll be going over the design of this little camcorder along with the specs, the features, and then some of the test footage that comes out of this little guy. So let's talk about the design on this little camera. You might be thinking it's very, very small, and it is. It's very small, actually. It might be one of the smallest mini DV camcorders that has been made. Not the smallest, but probably one of the smallest. But it's a very boxy design, like it's very square looking, and you'll probably notice the screen here on the back. And maybe you've seen one of these before, maybe online somewhere, or maybe you've even owned one. But if you haven't seen one of these before, the screen doesn't flip out or anything. It slides down to get a kind of a lower angle, and then it slides up as well. So if you want a higher angle, if you're holding it up high, you can slide it up for that as well. And then if you want to access the mini DV port, the mini DV port is behind the screen right there. So that way you can capture your footage. But I mean, other than that, it's a funky little camera. The battery has its own little compartment here. You pop this little cover off and the battery sits right there. It is cool though, because there's this little circle right here, and when you turn the camera on, it lights up in a mini DV light. I always thought that was kind of cool. I don't know why they put the little light in there. Like, I know like more professional camcorders will have different lights to indicate if you're in like HDV mode or DV cam mode or something like that. But this one just lights up to make it look cool, I guess. And then it's a pretty basic design. So, I mean, you're not really gonna get much out of it. The tape door is right here. And that's pretty much the as far as the design goes. It's boxy, it's small, you could probably throw it in your pocket, and it was definitely marketed as a budget camcorder, that's for sure. So now that I kind of showed you a little bit of the design, the funky design, let's go over some of the specs that I found. We'll see how cheap this thing actually was. So this thing actually does have a whopping 30x optical zoom, which that's pretty freaking big for how tiny this little camera is. But if that's not big enough or it doesn't zoom in far enough for you, you can do a 800 times digital zoom. It's not gonna look good, but the option is there. So as with every camera that records to tape, you can record it in SP or LP mode. SP is short play, and you'll get 80 minutes of recording on one tape. Now you'll get less time on the tape, but better video quality. And long play, you'll get 120 minutes or 2 hours of record time on one tape, but you'll have less video quality. So it just depends on what you really want. I always recommend SP, short play, just for the best video quality possible. It does support 12 and 16-bit audio recording. Unless you're going to be using some form of dubbing system, I always recommend using the 16. Now, the funky screen on here is also a bit of a funky size. It's not a 2.5-inch LCD screen, it is a 2.4-inch LCD screen. So somehow it's like 1/8 of an inch smaller, so kind of weird, huh? Now, the thing that does tell that it is a budget camcorder is the single CCD sensor is a 1/6 of an inch CCD sensor. So generally, like budget cameras back in the day that were mini DV, even like internal hard drive ones or SD card ones, if they had a 1/6 of an inch CCD sensor in it, it was generally, you could tell that it was a cheaper built camcorder. So you're definitely not going to get the best video quality out of this, and it's going to have a little bit more pixelization out of it, but that's kind of what you get when you paid for a budget camcorder back in the day. And I couldn't find an exact price on this, but I was looking around at the specs and stuff on B&H Photo. B&H Photo actually has a lot of cameras on there from back in the day, and they still have all the specs and everything on it. So that's where I found all the specs and information on this. But there was actually a review someone left on this camcorder, and they said that this camera cost under $200. So I would guess probably somewhere between $150 to $200 this camera costs. So definitely a budget camcorder. And the lens aperture on this camcorder is a f2.0 to a 4.1, and that is at a 2.3 millimeter all the way up to a 69 millimeter. Nice. And this little camera weighs 1 pound or 453.6 grams. And I'm guessing that that's probably with a battery and a tape in it. And those are most of the specs that I found. There's not really a lot of information on this. So I couldn't find any of like the how many pixels it creates for the sensor, pixels for the LCD screen on the back, or anything like that. So let's move on to the features of this little camcorder. There's not a lot, so this will probably go kind of quick. So you do get the little lens cap on there, and it's tied to where the hand strap sits. I haven't really been using this camera, so I haven't really taken this off just yet. But the lens thread diameter is a 27 millimeter, so kind of an oddball in my opinion. Just under the lens, you have a little flap here for your AV out and your DC in. The DC in is kind of a funky sized port there. It's a specific port that has been made by JVC, so you can't just plug in any kind of port there. You got to have one that's specifically made for this camera. And it's very, very small, but you have this little black square right here, and that's your infrared receiver. So if you have the wired remote with this little guy, you can use that to work the camera. You can use the record and zoom in and all that kind of stuff with it. This mesh spot right here is your onboard microphone, and it is a stereo microphone. And like I said before, the battery compartment is here on the side. You pop the door off and your battery sits in there. The battery release switch is here on the bottom, so you got to take the door off to get the battery out first, and that is what it looks like inside there. And there's a lot of other JVC camcorders that take a very similar battery. So if you have one of these batteries, this is a, let's see, the model number is a BN-VF808U. So if you have one of these batteries, it'll work with this camcorder. And then you have some more holes or mesh right there. That's your playback speaker. Coming along the back here, like I said, the screen slides up and it slides down. But you also get a kind of a little a little joystick here. And you can use it for different functions. So if you push up on it, you can choose manual or autofocus. You can push it to the left and go into quick review. So whatever clip that you just recorded, you can push left on the little joystick and it will play back the clip really quick. If you push it to the right, you can switch between 4:3 and 16:9 aspect ratio. And if you push down on it, you can choose your white balance. Along with that, you got your menu button, and you use the joystick to move around in the menu as well. And the joystick actually clicks in just like a button, so you can select things in the menu and all that kind of stuff. And actually, it works fairly well. It's fairly responsive, and it's really, really easy to maneuver. And then you have a button for auto or manual. So depending on what mode you're in, you push it and it'll go into auto mode, or push it again, and it'll go into manual mode. And you have to have it in manual mode to access the menu, which is really weird to me. And then you have your data button, and that is for your date and time code. You can, I think, turn that on or turn it off. Like I said before, if you move the screen up, you have your FireWire port right in here. Not much going on the right side of the camera. Your hand strap is kind of it's kind of a good quality, I think. It's I don't know what it really reminds me of. It's kind of like the same material as what the straps are here. So it kind of feels durable, but I don't think people really use this camera all that much, so this strap actually looks very good and in good condition. Coming along on the top side, you have your power switch here. So in the middle, it is off. If you move it to the left, it will go into camera mode, and if you move it to the right, it goes into playback mode. You have your record button here up on top, so you actually would hit that with your index finger instead of like your thumb on the back of a camera. And then the rocker zoom here, it's your traditional budget camera rocker zoom. There, it's very small and it has a very small range to it, so it's easy to get too fast or too slow zooms. I don't like these, they suck, but I kind of have bigger hands, so my finger is much bigger than it, so yeah. And then you have the little switch here to pop open the tape deck, and there you go, there's your tape. The one thing I do really like about this camera though is that it doesn't load the tape from the bottom of the camera. I like that it actually loads the tape from the top, because I hate having to flip the camera over to get the tape out. You can just set it here like this and just do it on a table. It also makes it a lot easier when you're trying to clean tapes and stuff like that. So you don't have to flip the camera over and then the camera's not topsy-turvy. It doesn't want to roll around and stuff. The camera's meant to sit like this. So having the tape deck come up from the top makes it a lot easier. And other than that, those are the physical features on it. There's not much going on. You do get some manual functions in the menu. You get like manual white balance, manual focus, manual shutter, all those kinds of stuff. So you have to go into the menu and turn those on or off. But you have to be in manual mode for that, obviously. So JVC has always been kind of known for their reliable VHS-C camcorders, especially from the late 90s to early 2000s, but their mini DV camcorders, not so much. In my opinion, I think it's pretty rare to find a JVC mini DV camcorder that is in good working condition. They seem to always have some kind of error with the tape deck. It's always in some kind of safeguard mode. That's the error message that always pops up, and it seems to always be like safeguard mode 1 through 6. And this safeguard mode is actually safeguard mode 6. Yeah, this camera actually doesn't work properly. It'll load a tape in and everything, and when you put the tape in or turn it on, it doesn't show that it's in any kind of safeguard mode. So when you hit record or want to play a tape or rewind a tape or anything, as soon as it starts, moving forward or moving backwards, it will show the safeguard mode 6. And this model specifically always seems to have an issue. This is like the third one that I've actually had. When I first started this channel, I actually got one of these because I was like, whoa, that's a funky looking little camera. And I bought it and it had a safeguard mode. I don't know if it was number 6 or not, but yeah, that one was really crappy, and I think I ended up returning it or selling it. And I think I bought a lot of camcorders, I think, one time, and there was another one that was in that one, and of course it had a safeguard mode on that one as well. And then I was doing some work and I was cleaning a church for work. That's a long story for another day, but the pastor at the church, he's had some cameras and stuff just sitting around at the church, and he just gave this one to me. I didn't buy this one from him. He says he didn't know if it worked or not because he couldn't find the charger. So I brought it home, I had a charger for it, and safeguard mode. And in my experience, it seems like cameras that come from churches, they generally don't get used very often. So I don't know why this one's in safeguard mode. I don't know if it's just like a dirty tape head or something, but you can hear how clanky and janky sounding the tape mechanism is, and the tape deck and everything. Like, everything's it just sounds broken. And it doesn't matter what kind of mini DV camcorder that I've tried out from JVC, they always seem to be finicky and like fragile almost. Like, they just sound really crappy built. So I don't know. I don't really like JVC mini DV camcorders. So if you do want one of these, I definitely recommend making sure it's not in a safeguard mode, because you're not going to be able to record to a tape. Or you better make sure you know how to work on camcorders, or just plan on going tapeless. And that's most likely how I will capture the footage with this camcorder, is going tapeless. I'll use my Sony MRC1, as long as the Sony MRC1 wants to connect to this. We'll see. So yeah, I don't really recommend any JVC camcorders just because they're not very reliable. But maybe there's some that are out there that are reliable. I don't know. You guys let me know. Is there any mini DV camcorders from JVC that you like and you think are well built? Let me know down in the comments. And with it being so small and so light, I think it will probably be pretty easy to have shaky footage with it. I bet that the image stabilization isn't as good as it could be. And to be honest, I haven't even tried this camera out yet, just because it's had issues with it. And I've had other camera projects going on and stuff, and I just have had this one sitting on the side for a little while. And so I figured I would finally make a video about it. So I haven't even tested this out yet. So we're going to be looking at the footage for the first time together. And along with the screen, this is a very unique design and kind of a cool design, but because it doesn't articulate, doesn't spin, you can't get the exact angle that you want. So if you want to shoot down low and hold it low to the ground, I feel like that isn't a wide or a flat enough angle for you to see the screen. So I really feel like it's just meant to just be held like this, and it's, I don't know, you get a slight bit of a different angle, but then you push it up and you can, I feel like this was a perfect dad camera for shooting your kids' soccer games and stuff. You're sitting in the bleachers and you got people's heads in the way, and you can't hold it like this. So you're like, oh, all right, we'll get up above their heads and see Timmy kicking the ball to the out of bounds, because Timmy sucks at soccer. If your name's Timmy out there and you play soccer, I'm not attacking you. I just pulled a random name out. So I'm not sure if there's very many of these that are still working out there. There may be, there may not be. I don't know. But if you have one of these, or a JVC mini DV camcorder in general, and the tape deck is messed up, it's in safeguard mode, it doesn't want to play a tape, whatever, you can always get yourself a Sony MRC1. I'll have a card up above on a video on that, on how that works. Or if you have a recorder similar to a ClearClick video to digital 2.0 or a 3.0 or similar to that, you can hook it up tapeless and record with this, with the recorder instead of, onto a tape. So I have some other videos on that as well. Like I said, I'll have a playlist linked down below for anybody who wants to learn how to capture footage and they're not really sure how to. There's a bunch of different videos I've made on how I've done it, so you can find the right way for you. And since this camera was under $200, I assume that JVC didn't really try making the tape mechanism very reliable. They probably made it as cheap as possible. So that's probably why these kinds of cameras just go into safeguard mode extremely easy. So, I mean, unless you know how to work on cameras, or you can find one that's brand new, not brand new, but in good working condition, and it's been confirmed that it's not in a safeguard mode, your best option is to just go tapeless. But if you're a collector out there and you want one of these cameras, it's a funky little camera. It's not really anything special on what it can do, but really just the design of it is the only thing that I could see that's worth collecting for it. That's the only thing it's got going for it, is its funky little design. But other than that, it's a budget camcorder. It probably doesn't put out the best of footage, and it doesn't have much going on for it. You don't have an external headphone jack. You don't have an external microphone jack. There's no cold shoe or anything on there for it. It's as pretty basic as it gets, besides a AV out, a DC out, and your Firewire in port, or out port, I guess, and some manual functions here and there in the menu. So connectivity wise, no, you don't get much on there. It's a budget camera. It's meant for parents wanting to shoot their kids at soccer practice, or anybody who is a beginner in the camcorder world back in the day. Now, obviously not. In today's world, everybody has a camera on their phone, so that's kind of pointless. So, not the coolest camera in the world, but the funky screen design is really the only thing unique it's got going for it. So let me know what you think of the JVC GR-DA30. Have you ever owned one? Would you buy one? How old were you in 2007? I was 11 years old when this camcorder came out. I just want to know how old everybody else was. If you've made it to this point, leave me a comment and let me know how old you were in 2007. So that'll do it for this review. Let's check out some of the test footage that comes out of this camera and see if it's good or if it's bad. So thank you for watching this video. Again, make sure you check out the links in the description for accessories that will get this camcorder going, like batteries, chargers, tapes, and recorders, along with my playlist links, and check out my eBay store for other camcorders that I'll be selling in the future. And thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like, and if you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe, because we talk about old school retro camcorders almost on a weekly basis. And on that note, we'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.